Yeah, I love that color too.
Mm-hmm. Old pickup blue?
I think so.
Okay.
Hi, we're here at the paint shop live tonight. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. My name is Caroline. I work for the paint shop, and tonight we also have our in-house paint expert, Ian.
I'm Ian from Benjamin Moore Paints.
And off to the side we have Steph, who is going to be monitoring your questions tonight. If you have questions, we'll do our best to answer them as we go along, but we will save some time at the end to answer your questions as well. Tonight I'm going to be demonstrating how I paint kitchen cupboards. Ian is here to correct me for anything that I might be doing wrong. We have some kitchen cupboards in various stages of being finished, so we're going to kind of run through this quickly and just give you kind of an overview on how easy it is to redo your kitchen cabinets at home just with paint. So you don't have to replace them all, you can just refinish your kitchen cabinets. So the first thing I would like to say with all of this is what I found. I redid my kitchen just recently, a few months ago.
It looks amazing.
Thank you. Thanks very much. And it was the thing that I found that helped me the most was just being organized and making sure that I had the right tools. And the first thing I would like to say is that we have paint shops all over Newfoundland and in Atlantic Canada, and we're more than happy to answer your questions. So please give us a call before you start any project, and we'll be happy to help you out. So we'll get that out of the way.
We can't forget Perry and Ann up there too.
No, and in Labrador as well. We have a paint shop in Goose Bay and in Labrador. So we are all over the place. We have you covered. So the first thing first, I'd like to go over the tools that we use with this.
Yes.
First of all, to prime it, we'll do the coatings first. We have Sticks Primer, which Ian is holding up here. Comes in the gallon and in the quart. And depending on the size of your kitchen and the project that you have, a quart actually goes a long way. So depending on the kitchen, how many cabinets you have, and again at the paint shop they can help you figure out how much paint that you're going to need. So that's the primer, and then we are going to be using Advance Paint in Pearl tonight, and the color we're going to be using is Simply White.
So the Advance does come in 4 different sheens, but we find Pearl is by far the most popular one of the bunch.
Yeah, and it's the one that I used at home as well. It's got a little bit of shine, but it's not glossy at all. The other thing we're going to use is a paintbrush. We use Silks tonight. We're using our Silks paintbrush. A little tip that I will say is keep the cardboard sleeve to put your paintbrush back in afterwards, because it will help make your paintbrush last a long time. This is a 2-inch paintbrush. I have small hands, so I actually prefer a smaller paintbrush. Is there a preference that people should go
I
for?
recommend a 2-inch brush. It's easy to work with. It's not too heavy to hold with paint in it, and you're just doing little finicky areas, so a 2-inch is perfect.
2 inches perfect. So I use that. We're using the Worcester Red Feather Roller, which is a very, it's a what is this? Velour, I guess?
Velour.
Velour, yeah. It's a very snazzy paintbrush. So it helps create a very fine finish, a very smooth finish on your kitchen cabinets. You will need sandpaper or sand sponges, which is what we have here. We have them in a fine grit, 220, or a medium grit, which is 120. So sandpaper works a little bit backwards. The higher the number, the finer it is. So just remember that for the 2 grits that you need. You will also need Tsp Cleaner. It is very important to make sure your cabinets are clean. The clean surfaces, free of dust, free of dirt. You'll get a better coat, better adhesion with the paint. And you can correct me when I'm wrong anytime.
I will.
And we also we have a drop cloth that we have on the table here that you can see. That will keep your floors happy.
Yes.
And to remove dust and dirt off your cupboards, we also sell these tack cloths. All of this stuff you can get at Paint Shop. So that's it. I think that's it. Am I missing anything?
No, you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Okay, so the first thing we have here is a cabinet that was donated to us by another Steph person. This is nothing done to it. It was right off the kitchen cabinets there. We recommend that you take the doors off and you work on a flat surface, and that you take all the hinges and handles off. You don't have to, but it just will make it so much easier, and the time you spend now, you'll save later on. Prep will be your friend. The first thing you got to do is have a clean surface. So we recommend Tsp, this stuff here. This you just spray on the surface, and then you can wipe it off with a damp cloth after 3 to 10 minutes. All the instructions are pretty much on everything, and that will clean your surface just fine. Then what you need to do after you clean the surface is you take your 120 sand grit, so the rougher surface, and you sand it down. And Ian, what did you say this was? This was a
like an orange peel effect. So it's where the cabinets we're working on today do have a rougher, older paint finish on it. So we're gonna have to do a bit of an aggressive scuff down in order to get it smooth. The smoother you get it from the start, the smoother your end up finish will be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now my kitchen cabinets that I had at home were just oak varnish, so I didn't really have to sand a whole lot.
Light scuff.
A light scuff. Yeah. This one you can go out and scuff to your heart's content. So we're going to cheat a little bit here.
One more quick thing about prep. Some people do go buy new handles. Yep. Sometimes you go from a 2-hole to a 1-hole. So if you are doing that, just remember, we'd have to fill and repair the holes. Yep. If we are doing that, it could be upwards of an inch thick of a repair. So prepare for extra time in order to get those holes filled. Any of the shops will be able to help you with the right repair tool.
Right repair. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one other thing with handles is I have older handles which are 3-inch. Some of the more modern ones are 3.5-inch. Yeah. So just make sure that if you go replace your handles, that you do measure before you spend a lot of money on your new handles. So I'm just going to take this over to the side and we'll go to part 2. So we're doing this a bit like a cooking show here tonight, just to make things a little faster. So this particular door was already cleaned and it was sanded down.
Very nice.
So we took the tack cloth over it, and it was all sanded down. And the tack cloth, as you may or may not be able to see, actually removes a lot of dust. One thing I will say is I always keep a damp cloth handy, just for if I spill it on the floor. If you just have your damp cloth ready, you can clean up spills easier while it's still wet. So we have our little tray here. Now this door is flat. There are no grooves, or there's no molding on wood. I don't know what they call it on kitchen molding. Yeah, sure. So on my doors, I had kind of the typical oak cabinets you would have saw out of the 90s. So what I did with mine was I went in and I filled in the grooves with a brush first, and it just made it a lot easier. And actually I used a brush pretty much on the whole thing, and used the roller to smooth it out. But tonight we're actually just going to use the roller, and we're just going to roll on very lightly. So this isn't hard, is it?
No, it's very easy. As long as you're set up properly and have all the right tools, a drop cloth is super important too. Yeah. So the thing about Advanced, it's a hybrid coating. So it's part latex and part alkyd. It's very modern type coating. So the latex part makes it very easy to work with, whereas the oil-based portion of the coating lets it dry slowly and level out. It makes it perfect for cabinets and very hard finish.
They call that self-leveling.
Yes.
So I didn't realize there was oil in it. Now, does that mean like you have to watch humidity when you're painting your cabinets? You have to watch the heat? Like I know some paints, sometimes you don't want a really humid day.
Yeah, we always want to be very sensitive. If you can let the room cool off a little bit, maybe to 18 degrees when you're working instead of having it 20 or hotter. A lot of us have electric heat in our houses. Electric heat is very dry, so that will dry it very quickly too. We just want to make it a little bit cooler, not too humid, not too dry in the house. And one thing is, you see Caroline working here, you want to watch your edges. So because you're going to sit it and let it dry, you don't want to get too much paint to go over the edges. Remember, we're going to prime it once and then paint it twice to get to our finished product, so you don't have to go too much paint. She's just doing a nice level, not letting it drip over the edges, but you can always take a quick look underneath and wipe off any drips at the time.
Yeah, the one thing I did find with these paints, because they are, for a smoother finish, they're runnier. So you have to watch the drips a little bit more.
Multiple thin coats make the strongest finish. So that's the goal here.
Okay.
And one thing you could do as well is you can always start on the back of the cabinets so you get a feel for it. By the time you get to the front, you'll be an expert as well.
Right. Okay. So I actually, that's done. That's a coat of primer on that. And I'm just going to hand this off to Ian.
Right on. So that's the Sticks Latex Primer. It dries to touch in about an hour or two. You can recoat it within 3 or 4 hours. In Caroline's case, she waited overnight before she put her started with her advance on.
Yeah, I only put one coat of primer on, but you may want to put more than one coat, but the paint works as well, so I found the one coat of primer was sufficient for what I did.
Nice.
Okay, so now we're moving on to this. Do we have any questions out there?
Do we ever?
Do we?
So we have a bunch of questions. Some of them will be answered when you go through the process, but I do have one from Ryan Johnson. My cabinet doors below the sink have water damage. My question is, can I touch this up or do I have to paint the whole door to match?
Good question, RJ. Oh, wow. I'd probably go and paint the whole door. I do a TSP wash. I do a scuff up and repaint the whole door again. In that case, water is always a tricky thing to do because it can stain, right? So I go right back to the start after you clean and sand, go right back to the sticks and then on top again. Hopefully it wouldn't happen again.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys continue and then I'll answer another one.
Anyone asking what's in my mug?
Nothing really in it.
Right on.
No.
Okay.
So this is a cabinet that was actually has one coat of primer on it, and as Ian mentioned, I let mine sit overnight, and I actually did that between coats just for durability. You only want to paint your kitchen cabinets once,
Yes.
and so I just felt if I took the time and let them dry overnight, it would be worth it in the long run. And it's just being methodical with what I was doing.
The thing about sticks is it's in the name. It sticks to everything. It sticks. It stain seals. It's really good. So it's very nice to work with, but it does dry very hard as well.
Right.
Great.
Okay. And so basically between coats you want to sand very lightly. This is where you get your 220 grit. So again with sandpaper, the higher the number, the finer the sandpaper. And so you don't want to...
You just the term sanding is a little scary. We're just scuffing the top for any hairs or burrs or any surface contaminants that might have fallen in there. Again, the more prep we do, the nicer and smoother the finish is.
Yeah. So this was primed once. So we're just going to go with priming one coat once. And again, never forget. Always don't forget to get rid of all the dust before you paint on it.
With tack cloth.
With tack cloth. Dust is not your friend. You could use damp cloth as well, but the tack cloth really works well getting rid of all the dust. So make sure it's clean. Clean surfaces will be your friend. So we are just going to switch this up here. I'm just going to... Steph, do we have any more questions?
Steve Cricket wants to know, can you do the same with coffee tables?
Definitely.
Yes.
People do cabinets, dressers, drawers. You can do anything. Same process and as what we do for a cabinet, but very hard, strong surface. Some people, if they go over the top, they would put a clear coat on top. It's not really needed with advanced, but it's something that some customers like to do.
Okay. So we're ready to paint this. And
How does that paint smell, Caroline?
It doesn't.
Yeah, very little smell, even though it's a hybrid coating with some good qualities.
Yeah.
Very little to no smell to it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sensitive to smells like that, so I found it really easy to work with. As far as like not having to put up with the smell.
Nice.
So again, you would take your brush, and if you had grooves in it, you would just paint within grooves. And if there aren't. So, but if there were, you would just make sure you would get in all corners and grooves first. And then you take your roller. These were a lot easier to paint than mine.
Yeah. It's pretty quick when they're flats.
It is. So this goes on really well, and as Ian alluded to earlier, this is a self-leveling paint, and that's what gives it its really smooth finish. But again, it's really runny, so just very thin coats. Don't try to glop it on. I tried glopping it on, it didn't, because I'm impatient and I wanted to do less coats of paint, but it actually doesn't work very well.
Multiple thin coats make the smoothest finish.
Yes.
And strongest finish.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not as messy either.
You'll find the coverage quite good, even going from dark to light with the stick and 2 coats of advance. It's incredible how much you can cover.
Yeah, well, you can even see, like, this is really light. So the lighter the paint, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the lighter the paint, the more translucent it is.
Yes.
So the more coats you'll have to do. So if you're going over anything really, it doesn't even matter if it's a dark, but I did my cabinets 2 tones, so my lower cabinets were a darker color. I only needed 2 coats of paint.
Yes.
My uppers were white, and I needed like 4 coats of paint on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very white, and it was going over the wood, so
Okay.
depending on what it is. But as you can see, this is pretty good coverage. This is really good coverage actually, because I guess it's white. And then I just like to kind of feather it out.
Yeah, and because it's an alkyd, it's a partial alkyd. It's slow dry, so she can work the paint a little bit longer.
So any other questions out there, Steph?
Nadine Templeton is wondering if you guys will talk about the box part of the cabinets.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah?
Definitely.
What does she want to know? Does she specify?
So in this case, the boxes would be done the same. The drawers, if you have space to go lay out all your drawers at once and put them all in a safe place with drop cloths underneath, they're very easy to work with. You can do a whole kitchen in probably an hour and 10 minutes for a coat.
Yeah.
And then you're done for the day, come back the next day and do your additional stuff. For the boxes, it would be the same process. You're just working with horizontal. So you'd still clean them the same. You'd still give them a scuff with sandpaper at the start and in between coats, and then just paint away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take this one.
Yep, take
Beautiful.
that one. Yeah, my kitchen cabinets, I had 25 doors in total, so I had a pretty big thing. And it actually really doesn't take a lot of time. The time comes in letting it dry. So it's kind of like baking bread.
Mm-hmm.
The actual making the bread doesn't take a lot of time. It's like letting it rise and all that sort of stuff. Well, it's the same principle with the doors. It's letting it dry
Yeah.
in between the coats. But that's a step that you really want to take.
Oh, it looks good.
Yeah, this looks really good. So this was 1 coat, and I think we're just going to put another coat on it. And so it covered really, really well, but just to give it an extra bit of coverage.
Really nice.
Yeah. So we're going to take the fine sandpaper again, and is it necessary to sand in between coats?
It's not really a sand. That's a scary word to everybody.
It's a scuff.
Just we're knocking off anything. Hairs or burrs. If you have pets in the house, there's always hair around.
Yeah.
So it could get caught in the paint that's drying. So why not? It makes a perfect finish.
So we'll give this.
And it takes very little time, right?
So how much time would you recommend drying between coats of Advance?
Coats of Advance, it's overnight is suggested.
Overnight is
Yeah.
suggested, yeah. See, I actually followed the rule on this.
You're the first.
Usually I'm impatient,
Yeah.
but it's the kitchen cabinets are such needed to be durable.
Nice.
Okay, so would you say that's good enough?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's just a light scuffing. That's all.
Okay, so we'll take our top cloth again. And you don't even get very much dust. Like, you're not even sanding enough to really get a lot of dust around the house. It's not like sanding drywall down or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no sanding too. There's no dust at all. It's just very little.
No,
Yeah,
just very
yeah.
little. Whoops, so we're going to go over.
Any questions, Stephanie?
Yeah, Linda Williams is wondering how often does the application last once completed?
Oh, that's a great question. It can last forever. So you put your cabinets are ready to go back up almost the day after you're done. If you let them sit and cure for a couple more days, it's just going to help with the hardness of it. I think you'd get years out of your cabinetry painted like this. Again, but because it's a painted surface, you could always have some maintenance. So You know, sometimes you're opening the door with car keys in your hand, or have a plate in one hand and grabbing a glass. You know, if you ding a spot, it's very easy just to grab the can, give it a light stir, and touch it up. If you are going to touch up and maintain your coating, you want to touch up with the same tool that you applied with. So you would want to go, if you used a red feather roller, which we love, you'd want to go use a red feather roller for your touch up as well, so it looks your best. That's a great question.
Perfect.
And I think that's pretty good.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it goes on really well. I gotta say, I've used a lot of paint in my time, and I really liked it. Once I got used to the runniness of it,
Yes.
and I didn't, again, try to glop it on, it actually is a really nice paint, and it dries more opaque than what you see when it's wet.
Yes.
And then that's it.
It looks really good. Nice soft sheen, and it's finished. Beautiful.
And again, this was simply white. So
Oh, right on.
yeah.
Great.
So the only thing at the end of Advance is I let my doors, again, I was being particular, I let my doors sit for about a week
Yes.
before I put them back on the cabinets.
Never a bad idea. The longer they sit, the harder they'll get. The full cure is about 2 weeks, so you want to be gentle with them for about 2 weeks, whether they be installed or moving them back in. Yeah.
Right, and they've been up for months now. It's about 6 months, and
Yeah.
I've had no problems washing them off or waiting them off.
on.
And I waited before I put the hardware back on
Mm-hmm.
as well, so the hardware doesn't stick and peel off.
And did you have to buy little plastic stoppers or felt stoppers when you reapply?
I didn't.
Okay.
No, I
That's
haven't
one
got
thing
to that
people
yet.
can do. Right on. Very nice.
You can,
Yeah.
but I haven't quite got there yet.
Mhm.
But I've been really pleased with my cupboards, and I think this only needs 2 coats.
Yeah.
I think this is fabulous.
It's done. It's perfect.
It's done. So, so what else do we have for questions out there, Steph?
People want to know.
That's great.
Let's see here. Hold on. So, Linda Williams said, how long should you wait to install or reinstall knobs in the covers?
Oh, 24 hours would be fine to start putting the knobs back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone asking, is it better to use brush or roller to apply paint?
The combination of the two. So on the actual surface, Caroline did it. My mother-in-law just did it, and she did it a different way than I'd suggest. So she went and brushed her whole cabinet, and then went over and back rolled over her brushes so it would smooth it out. So the roller for finish is totally suggested. That's the best way to do it.
Perfect.
Yep.
Let's see.
Yeah, I found for myself, because I had so many grooves, I had the colonial style
Yes.
cupboards. By the time I got finished painting all the grooves, I might as well have painted the whole thing anyway. So I just put the paint on, and then I actually just used the roller to smooth on.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, but the roller on this worked great.
Dana Wick, sorry. Where do I get the spray for cleaning the cabinets?
At the paint shop.
A couple different ways. TSP is trisodium phosphate. It's a cleaner. Sometimes it comes in like a milk container powder that you mix.
Yeah.
This one here is it's already mixed for you, so it's ready to use out of the can. It's already diluted.
And I've actually used both, and I actually used both on my cabinets,
Yeah.
and they both worked.
We also
fine.
the stores sell a lot of product called Crud Cutter as well.
Yeah.
It's just any cleaning product is good. The nice thing about TSP is it roughs up the surface as it cleans too.
Yeah, mostly with kitchen cabinets, what you want to get rid of is grease. So in your cabinets, there's a lot of oil. You want to make sure they're degreased, even more than dirt, I think,
Yeah.
is the grease.
And always clean first before sanding. Otherwise, you're sanding the grease and stuff
yeah.
into the substrate.
Yes, good
Yeah.
point.
Julie LeBlanc wants to know, can you do oak doors?
Yes, you can.
Yep.
Yeah, you follow the exact same process. Just in certain cases, you might need to do a third coat of paint. Just depends how extreme color difference you are. But hopefully you get away with 1 primer and 2 coats of Advance.
Perfect.
Great question.
Kathy wants to know, do you need a ventilation to do this?
I didn't.
Paints, when you're painting, it's always recommended to have as much ventilation as possible. The products are very healthy. In this case, we're not dealing with zero VOC products. There is very little scent to it, but some people are sensitive. A well-ventilated area is good for any paint project.
Okay. Someone is wondering, it is often humid in my home, so I use a dehumidifier. What percentage of humidity is too much when doing the cabinets?
Music to my ears here. Okay. Over 85 is a kind of a no-go for us. A sweet spot would be around between 60 and 70, so that would be ideal if you could check that. Yeah.
Perfect.
But in a case like this, we're not rushing coats, so it's a slow dry. So it's just try and get under 80.
Absolutely. Pauline Lynch, my cabinets are dark oak with semi-gloss finish.
Yes.
Will address a quick sanding and Tsp cleaning work?
Yes, definitely.
It should,
Definitely. Again, the key to this is the sticks primer. It has incredible sticks capabilities. It can go on tile. It can go on many hard to stick to surfaces. So if you're having anything around the house that you're not supposed to paint, that's where sticks primer would be used for that.
So would you recommend 1 or 2 coats of primer?
One is always normally enough because we're just trying to we're sealing out the stains and just getting adhesion on there. We're going to build our coating with the finish. Yeah.
Sharon Tucker, will the sticks get rid of or fill in the indents from door handles?
No.
No, it would not. It's got a lot of solids in it, so it is a thicker finish when it's done. But you'd want to do all those repairs with a certain kind of the shops would have a spackle or some kind of filler for you to work with.
Yeah, we do have spackle at the paint shop. If you like on my kitchen cupboards, I kind of had a metal backing that I took off, so I did have to fill in where the metal backing indented. But that wasn't an owner's job at all.
Perfect.
Great question.
There's lots of great questions.
Really?
What would you suggest for a top coat if you were to use one?
Well, I work for Benjamin Paints, and we sell a great one called Tsp Cleaner. It's a water-based, a non-yellowing urethane coating. It comes in a low luster finish, and it's really neat because even though it's clear finish, it goes on milky white, so you can see if you've done it too thick anywhere or it's any drips. It's a very nice product to work
You
with.
can use the Advanced without it, can you?
Yeah, the Advanced doesn't need a top coat. Some people put a top coat on just for added protection, and to put a clear coat on top just gives it a little more of a deep look as well.
Okay.
Like it gives it more depth in the finish.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. You guys have all the answers.
Yes. Bring it.
Sean Connors, any recommendations on colors?
Sean Connery?
No.
Connors.
Oh, okay. All right.
Or is white normally a better choice for a coat?
What was the start of the question?
Any recommendations on color? Or is white normally a better choice?
Well, white is... How many whites do we have right now? 200?
Oh, there's about 200 out of 3,500 colors. 200 of them are whites and off-whites. I'd say that's really your personal preference.
Yes.
I couldn't choose, so I did both. So
our most common whites right now, the most truest whites would be Chantilly lace or simply white are our two most popular true whites. They're very sharp, crisp whites. As we start to go off white, the most popular color in the history of Benjamin is cloud white, CC40, and that's very popular as well. It's just starting to get off white.
And I used a white Huron on mine, which
did
was
you?
really nice. Yeah.
Perfect. Someone wants to know, will this chip off with prolonged use?
Okay, well that's a great question. It is a sacrificial coating. So we've painted something that wasn't painted previously. So it could use, and it probably will need maintenance over time. Maintenance would be very little. So the key to not chipping off would be the preparation, that light stuff, with the sandpaper, and putting after cleaning, of course, and then putting the sticks on. Chipping off would be very rare, but again, if we beat up our kitchen cabinets pretty good, so if we do chip something, it's easy to just grab the can, touch it up with the roller.
And that's the real benefit of paint.
Yes.
Is that you can actually do something with it. Stain. It's not as easy to fix.
Exactly, definitely.
All right. Sean Connors, you showed doing the front and back. Would you do the edges as a separate step or the same time as the front and back?
Great question. What I usually do is I do the back on its own. I'm not sure if you did.
I did, yeah.
Do the back on its own. Then when you're doing the front, you do the edges. You kind of do the edges first, and then do your face to finish it. So it's done at the same time.
And what I did was I actually got a whole bunch of cans of chickpeas and I put the cupboards up on it to make the edges easier to get at. So if the board is actually lifted a little bit off the table, it makes it just easier to paint around the sides.
But any canned vegetable will.
Oh, any can, but peas, corn, you name it.
Do you use less paint on the box so it doesn't run, or the same as the doors?
That's a great question. Once you get a feel for it, see, paint in a kitchen seems so grand at the start. I remember when you were starting, you had a million questions. Like, just start, it'll come together, right? So you'll get a feel for how this roller lays out coating, and you'll get a feel for how much is too much on the brush. So too thick would definitely run, but as you're rolling on Advance and 6 with this red feather roller, it kind of shows you. You get a feel for how thick it should be as you're going.
Perfect.
Great.
Can you use a paint sprayer with this product?
Fantastic. Yes.
Wow.
This product is a paint sprayer's dreams. We have some great guys across our territories that do fantastic spray work with this. It's a very healthy alternative to the lacquer finishes that some companies spray. So yes, it does spray very well. You definitely want to get a feel for it before you go at your kitchen cabinets. So test it on some wood or something beforehand.
It's always good to test sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about new cabinets that aren't real wood? Are they able to be refinished?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Same idea. Prime it with the sticks. One thing to watch for after you've cleaned and scuffed and then put on your primer, sometimes on new cabinets, you can get a bit of lifting of the grain of the wood. If that lifts, you'd want to give it a slight scuff, and then in this case, you put on a second coat of sticks.
So sticks is good for everything. Is it good for like those IKEA cabinets where it's got a plastic coating
That
on
would be
it?
perfect. Yeah, that'd be finished. Yes,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah.
Let's see here now.
I didn't know you could spray it.
Yes.
Really? Do you have to dilute the paint at all? Or?
Well, it always depends on your gun, but most people just spray as is.
Linda McDonald, will I need a primer if they were painted before?
Probably not. You'd want to prepare it, clean it and then scuff it up. You go right on top of the Advance. I shouldn't have said probably not. No, you don't have to. This will go right on top. The thing about Advance being a hybrid coating where it's part oil and latex, it would go over previous oil finish as long as you scuffed it up pretty good.
Perfect. I have oak cabinets with a redwood stain. They have a final clear coat. Do I have to sand it right down to the wood or just take off the shine?
No, not at all. The benefit with this sticks, you just kind of knock down the sheen as best you can with sandpaper after cleaning, and then go right on top with the sticks.
Yeah, my kitchen cabinets were those oak cabinets. And I didn't really have to sand very much.
You went from very dark cabinets to very light. Yeah.
Someone's asking, anything special to do for the internal surface, especially the top of the shelves that would get more wear from dishes, tins, etc.?
Very courageous. So who was that? They're going to paint inside their cabinets too. Okay. So most of the people I see do this, they don't touch the insides. They just go do the outsides, right? Just the faces that you can see, and then they're had by then. Let's see. That's great. You could still do it the exact same, and what in those areas on the flat surfaces where we're scraping and piling dishes on there, or whatever we have in our cabinetry, we might just expect to do a touch-up coat sooner rather than later.
You might want to let that dry a little bit longer than
before
your
you
cover
put your
too.
kitchen
You might
back
want to
together.
wait the full 2 weeks before
Yes.
you put your dishes back in.
Yes, that's for sure.
And a lot of airflow. Get that airflow going.
Yeah.
Can you paint MDF this way too?
Yes, same idea. One thing to watch for with MDF, same with new wood. After you've cleaned and sanded and put your sticks primer on, sometimes you might get a little lift in the grain of the MDF. If that does occur, give it a light scuff with sandpaper and maybe put on a second coat of primer.
And so by lifting the grain, you mean that the wood just kind of becomes rough? It kind
Yeah,
of pulls
so
through this.
basically the water-based coating soaks in and just makes it like rough feeling again.
And so you're basically taking the wood down a little bit.
Yes, just a little bit. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And Johnson, should you tint your primer to the color paint you want?
Good question.
Great question. You don't necessarily need to, but you certainly can. If your sticks comes in a white finish, so if you're doing a dark color, you can ask your store to get a bit of colorant in there to get it in the direction of your paint. You don't need it to have a perfect match of what your finish coat will be. It'll just help you along the way with coverage.
Perfect. Donna Phillips, is it good over chalk paint?
Huh. Chalk, yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, so I've done some work with chalk paint. So just make sure when you're sanding, if the chalk paint is coming off or failing as you're scuffing it up and preparing, if it's loose, keep going. If you can sand and get it off, just keep going, get it off. That means it's a loose coating on the substrate. We want to stick to the substrate as strong as we can. If there's something loose in the middle, that will cause premature failure.
I know with chalk paint, sometimes they'll use a wax finish. You
Yes.
want to get rid of that.
No wax.
No wax. You want to sand that
Wax
right
off.
Wax off.
Yeah.
Let's see. So that primer is good to cover oil paint.
Yes, it is.
Wonderful.
But again, if it's oil paint, you don't necessarily need to prime. You can just go right on top with your advance.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yes,
that.
no.
Oh, okay.
Previously painted, you don't always need to prime. Yep.
Will you post all the answers to these questions you're getting?
Yes.
Yes.
And if you go on the Paint Shop website, if you think of something later, you can either ask on Facebook or go on the paintshop.ca and use the Ask Dave. And it usually makes its way to me and I can answer your questions. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, please call our paint shops. We're here to help. Our store staff is experts in all these coatings, and we're happy to help you anytime. And if they don't know the answers offhand, they always ask Ian, who does.
Yeah.
If the doors are kept on, do you do it differently?
No, you just have fun with that. It'd just be trickier to do because they're always moving, right? So you kind of have to stop them from moving. But no, it just if you don't have anywhere to put them, there would be no problem. It's just trickier to get in and around the handles.
And just mind, it's runny paint, so you're working on a vertical surface.
It's a loose coating.
It's a loose coating.
Yeah, runny paint.
Runny paint.
Jeez. We
Loose
almost made it. Yeah.
Darlene Fagan, can the advanced paint be tinted in any color?
Yeah.
Yes.
What colors you want?
Should say.
Yeah. So what are over 2,000 colors or over 3,000 colors, and a lot
Over
of the
3,500.
3,500. A lot of the competition's colors as well, but you can tint anything.
Yeah.
I have a fireplace with tiles on it. Can I use these products on the tile?
Yes. For the fireplace, it's a great one. So I'd probably go with the Sticks primer. And then at a fireplace, I might use just a regular latex paint like our Regal or finishes. Just because the true latexes don't have any spark rating in them. It's a little bit higher depth, but they don't have a spark rating, so that'd be safer to use around your fireplace.
That's a good question.
Whereas the Advance has that little bit of alkyd in it, so just to be safe.
Is the product food safe to use on tables?
Yes, when dry, it is okay to use on for incidental food contact. So yes.
I think we're getting to the end of them now, actually. Do these products have a strong smell?
Very little smell. So it's open here. I can't smell it. But like I was saying, one of the earlier questions about airflow, whenever you're doing a paint job with any paint, just make sure there's good airflow in the room. But the Sticks has a unique smell, I'd call it, but it's not strong per se. And then the Advance, I think it has a bit of a licoricey smell, but you don't smell it at all, you were saying, right?
No.
Very little. Like a freshness, right?
Yeah, it's just, I know the place has been painted, but not oppressively.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I want to paint my oak stair risers. Can I use this procedure for that?
This would be perfect for that. Another finicky job with doing a kitchen. You could follow the exact same process. Definitely.
Yeah.
Be very strong for the kick area and everything.
I believe that's all of them now. If I missed any, they will all be answered either tomorrow afternoon or
Right on.
today.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we'll probably post all this up online. Well, thank you very much, Ian,
That was great.
for coming. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. That was great.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I just want to say again, please don't hesitate to visit our site, paintshop.ca. We have an Ask Dave question where you can send in your questions and they will be answered personally. You can contact us on our Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, you name it, we're out there. And you can call our stores. We're island-wide. Again, on paintshop.ca, we have all our store locations listed with their phone numbers and hours. Thanks again for tuning in, and maybe we'll do this again sometime. This is our first time doing it. And don't forget that anybody who asks a question is going to automatically be entered into a draw for a $250 gift card, which will pretty much do your kitchen if you're doing it. So good luck with your project, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.